Wait, you're telling me there was a Mad Max video game and it was good? Seriously? Okay then, delightful. Please join for this Cheapness Affordable Gaming review of Mad Max. How's the gameplay? Well, it's good, but familiar to anyone who's played an Assassin's Creed, Arkham, or Middle-earth game. I mean, not surprising, two of those franchises are from the same publisher. You attack, parry, or counter, and it is solid, but it's not as good as in any of those games. Not as satisfying or refined. Some of the finishers are great, displaying quick responsive animations. Parries have to be timed very well once you get the upgraded skill to make the best of them, and your shotgun kinda functions more like a melee weapon, thinning out the herd when you have the ammo. And it has a fury mode, nice callback, that you can activate for increased damage, etc. It's fun, but a later example of an already established template that didn't really improve upon it. And unlike those other games, this doesn't really have stealth. I mean, it was probably planned somewhere during development, because technically you can pull off stealth kills. It's just doubtful that the game will let you stay undetected. The game doesn't even have a tutorial section for it. Throughout the entire game, I only managed to pull off like 2 of them, and the bases aren't really set up for stealth. Where are you gonna hide? Which is a bit weird. It has way too many open arenas for a game where wastelanders can point you to hidden entrances. At best, you can pick off enemies with your car-mounted sniper rifle. Soften enemy camps up a bit, surprise them, but honestly, stealth isn't really this game's forte. But where something was taken away, something else was added. Their magnum opus. That's actually your car's name. The game has Vehicular Combat. You live in your car. You can ram opponents, winch them with your harpoon. Even their wheels, shoot their gas tanks with your now surprisingly long-range shotgun, or simply blow them up with thunderpoons. The RPG that your companion fires. Is it just me being salty towards Warner Brother games, or does our mechanic remind you of Smeagol? Humanity lost a whole lot of tech, yet these have a homing quality somehow. These booms are satisfying, and arguably car combat is a superior focus to the fisticuffs. Even if the driving mechanics are incredibly simple, it doesn't even have a handbrake button. And yes, there are no other guns, so I'm not counting gunplay as a gameplay avenue. But this leads us to a sticking point. Like the games I compared Mad Max to, there are a lot of activity icons on the map. More accurately, stuff to destroy, and camps to take over, to loosen Scrotus's grip. Absolute punishment. It even has vantage points like in Assassin's Creed, except with a more down-to-earth method of getting back down. But these activities, while fun, yes, I'm the kind of person who still finds these fun, even though the gaming market is oversaturated, it does smack of these ideas not being used to their full potential. Firstly, all the camps you take over but one are on foot, requiring you to get out of the car after the initial softening, and in general there's much more brawling than car combat, which strangely may mean that your car takes the back seat. Absolute punishment. Maybe if more of the camps were designed with vehicular combat in mind, or there were areas designed to mimic destruction derby arenas, because that's also lacking. Usually when you fight cars, it's on roads, meaning you drive rather straight and usually don't get too fancy with the driving, especially after you upgrade the Thunderpoon to decimate multiple armored cars in one sitting. Who needs to ram when you can just blam? I mean, I rarely ripped off wheels, rarely grinded into enemy cars, and just about never used the flaming side exhausts. And it does have mechanics like using up gasoline and eating and drinking, but food and water only replenish health. You don't use up that much gasoline, especially if you've bought the appropriate skill. And lastly, even if those weren't problems, all 3 of these things aren't that hard to find. Sure, they probably didn't want to alienate players by having Max die first, but perhaps a true survival element would have added something. By the way, if you want to help me not die first, then please consider liking and subscribing so that I can get monetized. But no pressure though, I'm grateful you've even watched. And there's so much to do that when you reach for racing and stunt jumps, you know, actual vehicle stuff, you've gained so much experience that you've essentially maxed out Max. So there isn't that much reason to engage with the activity, especially since oftentimes the stunt jumps don't feel that satisfying, and the terrain can make the racing feel not that fun. And for some reason, the only thing you need to do to save your car from blowing up is to climb out and let your mechanic handle it, in spite of the flames. Does this mean Smeagol would have survived Mount Doom? I mean, really, there's a mission where you have to get the rare item twinkle lights, yet he has a fire extinguisher. Plus, your dog can be rather slow to detect the mines. Bad dog. Thanks for watching so far. Please stick around for about 18 seconds. It's intro time. Don't get me wrong, as mentioned at the start, it is a good game. There's just some areas could have been refined a bit to avoid the more well-driven locales. Absolute punishment. The game does display Mad Max logic. Max can seemingly remember how things were before everything went wrong, yet everyone else, people older than him included, felt it necessary to create multiple new pantheons and a new version of English. A version that's approached so differently that the toughest sounding names for warlords are silly and crass. I mean, come on, this guy's named Rimjabi. And they arbitrarily added Republic to SCOTUS. Yes, the developers were given a remarkable amount of free reign over the Mad Max IP. But maybe I'm being harsh here. Maybe the stars were like, sure, you can refer to one of us as Rictus Erectus. But that's where we draw the line. Visually, the game does look good. In a twist, the artificial stuff looks worse than the natural stuff. A bunch of rusted and brown surfaces that sometimes are barely distinguishable from one another. Most of the visual variety these places deliver is based on the dramatic terrain they chose to build on. Everyone's clothing is brown from the dust too. Or wait, Max starts off with a prospector's costume, but they all just collectively decide on brown? I mean, one character has scavenged something a bit more colorful, so maybe it just symbolizes hopelessness. But this child still has some. But whatever the reason, most people look boring, your car included for most of the game. In order to get a new paint job, you have to murder a whole bunch of people and then defeat the warlord covered in that color to be able to switch it up, and even then that can counteract the fall of civilization. Is this supposed to be red? Because it looks just like Rust. But at least the vehicles do look cool, nice and Mad Maxy, have spikes and stuff, and as mentioned, the natural landscape looks great. It's supposed to represent an oppressive desert, and there you go, mission accomplished. Open space with very little detail to slow down for, so you just drive about, marvel at the heat lines and the aura of unpleasantness, and the beauty of the pretty horizon if it's not occupied by smoke. Somehow all of the sand isn't boring this time, probably because you drive through it at speed, and since it's Mad Max times, you don't expect more. This is looking exactly how it's supposed to, and then you get surprised by the variety of nothing they give you. A dried up bed, rocky sea remnants, what's left of the road network, proper dunes. It's harsh and pleasing. Ooh, we eat dog food and maggots. I don't even think the films took the broken world this far, and they've mastered the art of the Hollywood explosion. That's the best part of the sound design too. That and your shotgun, the nitro, etc. It's essentially a road trip without many roads. But the music isn't particularly noticeable. The voice acting is, though, really Australian accents,
Pull it back, I might just turn things around for us.
with the mentioned futuristic cataclysmic English, with the odd, incredibly thick South African accent.
Yeah, I heard whispers down the way about some dune drifter fitting your looks. Supposed to be special.
Surprisingly though, story-wise it does have merit. Sure, the building blocks are familiar. Max doesn't want friends, he has trust issues, yet he can't help but help people while running from his past. That is well-trod. But, spoiler alert, it has a very not happy ending. And the history items are nice and can show real sadness.
Will I ever come back?
As well as the grotesque backsliding of people when things went bad. If Max can get a touch pretentious, in a deriding human folly kind of way.
They had something, but now it's gone. It's gone no matter how much they loved or hated or bigored.
The game took me 45 hours to complete, clear all the threats, get a whole lot of scrap, and complete most of the side quests. All of a sudden these two popped up where you have to play at night, yet there's no function to fast forward time, and I didn't want to do that, I was done. Plus, while some of the upgrades are required to progress, I think you can complete the game with a less powerful engine, so I think you may be able to go for the finish sooner. And it has incredible value for money, because if you play for that long, at a full price of 284 Rand, and a sale price of 28 Rand 40, that's like 64 cents per hour of gameplay, which is incredible. Fantastic value. It would still be great value if you played less than half of the amount of time I did. But to download it is fairly big, as it takes up 32.08 gigabytes on the hard drive. And I didn't even try it on the Warhorse, I'm pretty sure it would explode. But a nice Mad Max gasoline bomb. Real theatrical. Stereotypically it's not that bad for kids. Sure, there's phallic imagery, a guy wearing someone's face, slavery, sex slavery included, you eat maggots maggots to survive, and out of a carcass no less, and there's a marauder named Cocklocker, and sure it's a tad violent, but I maintain some kids can handle it. Although be careful, all that stuff's in here. This game impressively captures the harsh wastes and pretty sky, with all the accompanying unpleasant elements. It's very bleak and brown, artificial stuff doesn't look good, very samey, rust-filled, plus it has brilliant Hollywood explosions. Sound-wise, it has lovely bangs and booms. And some people will like the fetishistic Australian and South African accents, although the music is not particularly memorable. There's a lot of max upgrades, car upgrades, skill points to spend. If these things mean you have to spend more time looking for scrap, you can also help local communities. The benefits aren't that necessary, but you can feel like a hero because they can show the settlement's progress. It does have a well-trod story, but it's elevated by a less cookie-cutter ending. And I suppose the world building is nice if it does go silly and crass. And the history items are good if Max doesn't go too sanctimonious, etc. Doesn't go too far. It feels like a Mad Max game with a less recognizable face. And it's nice that they added a vehicle focus to the Assassin's Creed, Warner Brothers games formula to make it a bit less familiar. It's fun but not complex. But on the maybe side, it's very much an Assassin's Creed or Arkham game. Filled with activities, the attack, parry, counter system, the shotgun can even count as a gadget, and some people will downright hate how familiar this feels. And while Mad Max's combat isn't the worst example of this kind, it also isn't the best, and it doesn't even have the stealth, so it doesn't really build upon the formula that much, and there's less variety. And also, it perhaps has too many things to do. And on the con side, it does have some unrefinements, and honestly it has good ideas, but they weren't arguably used to their full potential. You don't really have a lot of arena, vehicle combat, survival elements don't really impact you much, vehicle fights are short and along roads, meaning you don't have to drive fancily, and you will rarely drive off of them. The focus is more on its less unique and impressive melee combat, rather than its more unique elements, etc. I know that sounds like a lot of possible negatives, but I really did enjoy this game. It's definitely worthwhile. Come on, play it. And experience next level physics in the form of the frustrating yet satisfying tactile funk of a sheet of metal hitting you during storm chasing. Tornado.